One of the best Easter candies is the Cadbury Creme Egg, a classic staple that has been around for decades. So what's the story behind them? Take a look at all of the things you never knew about Cadbury Creme Eggs. If you're a Cadbury Creme Egg superfan, then you probably already know that Cadbury is a company based in the United Kingdom, and Cadbury Creme Eggs are extremely popular there. One reason for that might be because there is actually a difference between the Cadbury Creme Eggs you find in America and those you find in the UK. The New York Times explains that, for one thing, chocolate made in Britain has a higher fat content. The first ingredient in British Cadbury dairy milk is milk. But if you look at an American-made Cadbury bar, the first ingredient is sugar. Sugar might be sweet and delicious, but it's the milk that's going to give the chocolate that extra creamy taste. The Times author tasted both bars and found the British bars were indeed better, writing, "The British dairy milk was slightly fudgier, allowing for a creamier taste and texture. The American dairy milk bar left a less pleasing coating and somewhat of a stale aftertaste." So, does that mean you should stop buying American-made Cadbury eggs and only buy ones made in the UK? Maybe, but unfortunately you can't do that unless you travel abroad. The sale of British-made Cadbury Creme Eggs is actually banned in the United States, and while you're in America, you can only buy American-made Cadbury chocolate. Disagreements between British Cadbury importers and America's Hershey company began in 2015. Basically, Hershey has the rights to the Cadbury Creme Egg recipe and can make their own American version in the States, and didn't want British importers bringing in the good stuff to compete with their American version. The British agreed to stop importing candies that would compete with Hershey's, and sadly that included Cadbury Creme Eggs. So yes, you can thank Hershey's for the fact that you won't be able to find real British creme eggs anywhere in the States, along with any other truly authentic Cadbury products. According to the New York Times, it didn't go over well with fans of the tried and true originals. Have you ever wondered what exactly the cream inside even is? The white and yellow mix, so carefully put together to look like the white and yolk of an actual egg, almost doesn't look natural. That's because it kind of isn't. According to Huffington Post, it's just liquid fondant, and that's the stuff used to make really cool designs on cakes and other baked goods. It's also the same liquidy goodness you'll see on the inside of chocolate-covered cherry cordials. Fondant is typically made with only 3 ingredients: water, granulated sugar, and corn syrup, but for Cadbury Creme Eggs, it's also dyed with food coloring to look like the inside of an egg. So yes, when you eat a Cadbury Creme Egg, you are essentially just eating a chocolate shell filled with liquid sugar. Healthy? No. Delicious? Yes.
I think tonight's gonna be my night.
If you've ever studied the inside of a Cadbury Creme Egg, you'll know that they look pretty cool. The mix of white and yellow cream inside really does resemble an actual egg, so how do they put these together? It's more complicated than just filling 2 pieces of hollow chocolate with cream. The Daily Mail spoke to Cadbury executive Tony Billsborough, who said, "The process of making the cream egg was a eureka moment and is not done in the way that most Easter eggs are formed. Basically, here's how it goes down. Liquid milk is poured into a half-egg shape where it is then leveled. Immediately afterwards, a blob of white fondant goes in the still melted chocolate. Then a smaller blob of orange fondant is added to that. The other side of the egg is just chocolate and white fondant. While both sides are still liquid and melted, they get molded together. Even though the inner filling and outside shell are all liquid at the same time, they don't mix together because the fondant is more dense than the chocolate. Or is it Easter magic?" The year 2015 wasn't just the year that Hershey forced British Cadbury candy out of the United States, it was also the year one company made a major change to the recipe that sent fans reeling. In the UK, The Sun reported that the company's owner, Kraft Foods, quietly changed the recipe for Cadbury Creme Eggs. They stopped using Cadbury's dairy milk for the outer shell and started using something described as a standard cocoa mix chocolate. Insane, right? A spokesperson for Mondelez, Kraft's confectionery division, told The Sun, "It's no longer dairy milk. It's similar, but not exactly dairy milk. We tested the new one with consumers. It was found to be the best one for the creme egg, which is why we've used it this year." The switch was just adding insult to injury because the company had already changed standard boxes of 6 Cadbury Creme Eggs to 5-packs without lowering the price. Combine the two, and they had extremely angry fans on their hands. The backlash was real, and some even started a Change.org petition to switch back to the old recipe. While loyal fans condemned the new, not-so-smooth texture of the remodeled eggs, Mondelez continued to defend their decision in a not-so-diplomatic way, pointing out, "The creme egg has never been called the Cadbury's dairy milk creme egg." Anger about the change to the UK Cadbury Creme Egg recipe was heard around the world as furious fans took to social media to announce their disapproval. But it was also seen in profit. The Independent reported that after the change in the recipe went public, Cadbury's Easter egg sales fell by over $13 million, with creme eggs accounting for nearly $8 million of that loss. Still, one spokesperson for Cadbury, Claire Lowe, insisted that the recipe change was not the reason sales dropped. Lowe told The Independent that they were attributing their losses to the fact that the Easter season was shorter, saying, "It was 2 weeks shorter in 2015 2015 than 2014, so it's hard to compare like for like. Sound unlikely? The Telegraph thought so, publishing an article shortly afterwards and saying the recipe change was one of the reasons Cadbury had fallen out of so many Easter baskets. Cadbury as a company is very successful, and they owe a lot of that to Cadbury Creme Eggs. According to Cadbury World, the UK company makes approximately 500 million Cadbury Creme Eggs each year, more than 1 million every day, and they export over a third of them. And no, none of those are coming to the US. With that many cream eggs being made, that means there are roughly enough candy eggs for every person in Britain to enjoy 3.5 Cadbury Creme Eggs each year, according to the company itself. So how many eggs is 500 million exactly? Laid end to end, Cadbury says it's enough eggs to stretch from Cadbury's hometown of Burnville, England to Sydney, Australia. That's a lot of cream eggs. It should come as no surprise to anyone that Cadbury Creme Eggs are not good for you by any stretch of the imagination, but it's pretty shocking when you look at just how unhealthy they are. The ingredients include milk chocolate, sugar, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, artificial color, artificial flavor, calcium chloride, and a small amount of egg whites. Sugar, corn syrup, and high fructose corn syrup are all the same thing, basically. Sugar. So yes, you're eating a lot of sugar in one little egg. Look at it this way. The American Heart Association suggests limiting your daily sugar intake to just 25 grams for women and 36 grams for men. That little Cadbury Creme Egg contains a whopping 26 grams of sugar, so there's your daily sugar. Still not convinced? If you eat 3 of the eggs in one day, you'll be ingesting the amount of sugar a physician would use during an oral glucose tolerance test to determine if you have diabetes. There's a little bit of irony here too. Cadbury's was founded by John Cadbury in 1824, and he built the company based on his family's Quaker principles. Alcohol was seen as one of the world's evils, and Cadbury offered tea and coffee along with his chocolate, and it was meant to be a healthier, more socially responsible alternative to booze. The real authentic Cadbury Creme Eggs are a seasonal treat and are only meant to be sold during part of the year, the Easter season. Because the cream egg is so popular and beloved, it's easy to wonder why Cadbury wouldn't want to capitalize on that as much as possible.
These eggs show up in January like newly signed gym memberships or movie theatres full of films that will never win Oscars. But why?
Cadbury's Tom Bilborough told BBC Radio 5 Live's Breakfast that although the company had once tried year-long sales, it hadn't worked out like they had hoped. He explained, "There's something special about cream egg season. We long for it in those long eggless days of summer and autumn." In short, part of the cream egg success is made in part by the fact that we just can't get one all the time. But you may have noticed that you sometimes see Cadbury Creme Eggs available during other times of the year, like the limited edition Halloween Scream Egg. Cadbury Creme Eggs being sold outside of that pocket of time between Christmas holidays and Easter are likely just the American version of the candy. Doesn't sound so bad to be enjoying the copycat version now, does it? When it comes to eating Cadbury Creme Eggs, people don't just unwrap them and take a bite. There are actually tons of creative and interesting ways you can enjoy a Cadbury Creme Egg, and one notable and innovative way to eat them is referred to as the Eggpresso. Love Cadbury eggs? Love coffee? If you've answered yes to both questions, you'll need to try the Eggpresso. It's essentially an espresso poured into a hollow chocolate Cadbury egg, and when the hot coffee hits the egg, the chocolate melts and mixes with the espresso to become almost like a little latte. The Eggpresso trend started in Australia and New Zealand and took off on social media. It just goes to show that sometimes social media can be used for good. If you were wondering just how popular Cadbury actually is in the UK, here's your answer. There is a Cadbury World you can go to, like the British version of Hershey Park or Disney World. It's basically a theme park focused on all things Cadbury, and there is so much to do there aside from just eating chocolate, although you'll do plenty of that. Some activities include getting the full chocolatier experience, where you can learn everything you need to know about how to make chocolate. You can have an afternoon tea at the Cadbury Cafe, where you can enjoy exclusive recipes, and then go shopping at the world's biggest Cadbury shop, where you'll definitely get your chocolate fix. There are also lots of exhibits and events where you can learn more about the history of Cadbury and chocolate as a whole, and 3D experiences, like a virtual ride on a roller coaster. Jealous yet? That's not the only cream egg-themed paradise that's popped up. In 2016, a massive cream egg cafe showed up on the street of London, Soho. It featured traditional menu items like toasties and tray bakes, all with a cream egg twist, and Dublin's done them one better. Their cream egg cafe is much more regular. It's reappeared for several years, and it's just as delicious. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more mashed videos about your favorite treats are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.